Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And in this lesson, I wanted to speak on the added elements, right, of the times that we're living in, and along with what's going on, right, in the main news with Russia, with Israel and Iran, right, and all these possibilities and so on and so forth, right. This is basically like wartime, right? There are different wars, and not just this, right? You still have the whole Russia-Ukraine situation going on there, but these are all part of what Yahweh Shai prophesied about, right? That there would be wars and rumors of wars, and with war also comes propaganda, right? So, and the same people who are campaigning, right, on their war against disinformation end up using it, but they just have a different term or label for it whenever they do it. And that's something that I want to mention here, is that as we get into more and more, we get deeper and deeper down the road of prophecy, things will intensify, right? Because these prophecies that are remaining to fully unfold are not just small, tiny things, right? These are major world impacting prophecies. And so as they manifest, right, there's going to be a lot of perspectives and a lot of information coming out from different sides on whatever real-time events are happening. And so it's going to be very crucial, especially now more so than ever, to one, really cross-reference, check, and vet the information you're reading. Because the thing about propaganda or misinformation, as they call it, is that it can even come from a quote, a known reputable source, right? But that doesn't mean that what they're saying is accurate, right? Because they may be reporting it in what they call good faith, but the source where they might have got it from might not be the case. So as all this is going on, you would have, or you can very easily have cases where in say the US, right, there's reports of, I don't know, let's take the Iran-Israel situation here. There are reports of Iran saying one thing or doing one thing, and then you take a look at some other news source that is not U.S. owned or U.S. based, and they're saying a different story, right? And the thing is with propaganda, which I'm gonna pull up here, it's not like this is something that they sort of run with, right? And the point of it is to alter the perspective of a target audience. So it could be blatantly false, but it will be pushed as though it's true. Now, obviously, they're going to have to use modern means for this, because a lot of people are hip to what's going on and have access to, information outside of their regions or where they are dwelling. Okay, so just know that, I mean, during wartime, it's very easy for them to limit internet access, right, or information going in and out of a country to the public, and then just sort of expose them to the only information that they want them to see via their mainstream media. So it says here, propaganda is the systematic dissemination of biased or misleading information to influence public opinion and behavior. And this has been used time and time again by different countries, different people, different states, right? World War I, World War II, and other situations. So it's not, don't expect that it won't be used in this time either. And not just with war, but just with things in general. As a matter of fact, they use this on a daily basis under a different term, right? But as you can see here, as it says, it's, systematic. It's not just from like one person. It's pushed throughout the bulk of these media services or channels or outlets that can reach people, right? And so the way they word things, right? The way they display certain images or pictures, it's to cause the perception of people to fall in line with what they want. And as it says, it could be misleading, right? Or misleading information to influence public opinion and behavior. So as things start getting more and more chaotic, people are going to be looking for the truth. They're going to be looking for solid answers. And it'll get to the point where people know that what they're being fed is not true or genuine by their mainstream media. But unfortunately, that's going to be the only news that they get. And they're going to want real answers. They're going to want to know what's going on and what can they do. And that's where you're going to have your people seeking, you know what? Oh, I remember there were these men, these individuals. They were warning about all this. Maybe they might know something. But as it says in 2nd Ezra, the 5th chapter, the Lord is going to have wit hide itself, right, and understanding withdraw itself into a secret chamber. So, people are going to look, but they're not going to be able to find it. And information is very, very, very crucial. You can see even on a small example, when there's an altercation, today it's at school or at a job, see how quickly people rush to wherever that altercation is happening because they want to know what's happening, what's going on, right? They hear yelling. You're in the office, you hear screaming, and then a glass shatters. Immediately, people are going there, gathering to see what's going on. That's how fast crowds gather because everybody wants to know what's happening. People are running, pushing through people just so they can see, or they're asking others, what's going on? What's going on? So information is very, very crucial, especially when it comes to serious matters, or matters of uncertainty. The smallest bit of information or guidance you may have, it's worth a lot. And that's why they try to always control that part, because it's very powerful depending on who's wielding it and to what intent they are using it for. So it says here, continuing, it's a form of communication that aims to persuade a specific audience to adopt a particular viewpoint. So what's an example? Your country wants to go to war with another country or join in a war with another country. They know that majority of the people are not with it, and it would not go really well. They wouldn't have the support of the masses and X, Y, and Z. So they wouldn't be able to really enlist a lot of people. And, the sacrifices that the civilians and the citizens have to make to afford war is a lot. So you need them to be on your side. Well, they start to paint the other side as not just evil, right, but a threat. Because when people don't want to go to war, and then you tell them that, well, you paint the picture that we kind of have no option because these people want to hurt us or they want to do this to us, then you have a different kind of sentiment that starts to arise in people, right? Let's say this whole scenario with Iran, Israel, right now, people are like, yo, if Trump goes up in there, that's going to be a problem. But if they were to, and this is just an example, if either they or Iran was to actually do something on U.S. soil, or if the who were to do it and pin it on Iran, that's a different case and something big, right? Where there's a lot of casualties. At that point, propaganda is on full steam, right? That we need to go up in here. They just you know what I'm saying? Look at what they did, and then that's when all these news stations play the same footage of that event again and again and again and again and again to put it into the minds of people. These are the people we're dealing with. This is what they've done. We need to go ahead and take action. We can't just sit by. And this is what they're doing to Israel as well. We gotta jump up in there. So as it says here, right? It says it aims to persuade a specific audience to adopt a particular viewpoint or take a desired action, often by manipulating emotions and selectively presenting information. That is your propaganda. So that's why when you see clips when it comes to wars and so on and so forth, oftentimes you'll see the broken buildings, right? You'll see the children. You'll see the stories of the child who lost their mother, the father who can't find his daughter, the kid that was pulled out half alive from under the rubble, the innocent family that was eating their dinner and they just got taken out, because that manipulates the emotions of the people. Even though war is mainly two-sided, right? The casualties you're seeing on your part, the other party is also experiencing based on the things you're doing. But that's not the point of it, right? That's the whole goal. That's the name of the game. Yeah, look at that. It says here, intentional manipulation. Propaganda is not simply sharing information. It's a deliberate effort to shape how people think and feel about an issue. And what that means is it's going to come with a lot of lies, okay? A lot of omission of truth, all right? And that's to shape the minds of the people. So expect that as things escalate or de-escalate, right? They're now talking about apparently Iran is like open to a deal, provided that the U.S. tells Israel to stop their bombing campaign and so on and so forth. Now, how that's going to affect everything, we got to watch and see. But we know that whether they come up with a deal or they get really close or they stop bombing each other and have a truce, how many times have we seen that? It's not going to stop anything. It's a part of the prophecy, right? It's a part of that's that Habakkuk 2 and 3, right? That's that tarrying. It looks like it's there, then it slows down. It looks like it's there, then it slows down, but it's going to head in one destination anyway. Imagine you're driving in a car and you drive, like when you're in traffic, right? You're going to a destination, but periodically you'll get some steam and then you got to slow down because then the car's slowing down in front of you. Then you drive again, then you slow down. Then you drive again and you slow down. Guess what? Eventually, you're still making progress towards your destination. Even though you keep slowing down every so often, you're still closer to your destination than you were 30 minutes ago. And eventually, you're going to pass the point of traffic. And it's going to pick up. And it's not going to slow down anymore because now there's no more traffic. And it's just going to go and you're going to, step on the gas a bit more and have that smooth drive straight to your destination. And that's how we're seeing these prophecies, right? So the whole point here is like, regardless of what things look like in the manifestation on the world scale, we know what's going to happen, right? We know what's ultimately going to be the case. And that's what keeps us calm. It keeps us stable, right? Leading up here, Isaiah 33 and 6, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. See, and this is very, very important. It's a very, very, very important point here, to have that wisdom and knowledge and that fear of the Lord, right? And it's packaged with faith. You got to have it mixed with faith, because by knowing these things and believing them to be true, we have all we need. We know when the time is up. We know what's going on. We know what's coming next, and we know what we ought to do. And that's really what we need to get through these times. Okay, now I pulled up here some previous examples, okay, of propaganda here with the U.S. And it says, during American involvement in World War II, propaganda was used to increase support for the war and commitment to an Allied victory. Using a vast array of media, propagandists instigated hatred for the enemy and support for America's allies, urged greater public efforts for war production and victory gardens, persuaded people to save some of their material so that more material could be used for the war effort, and sold war bonds. and with this, people may not support, like U.S. citizens may not be the biggest fans of Israel, right? But if the U.S. was to be attacked by Iran or U.S. interests, it wouldn't matter, right? Slovakia. It wouldn't matter. They would be down for whatever they need to be down for, because now they are directly affected. Or maybe if the Strait of Hormuz was to be closed, at first people would, the Strait of Hormuz now, what that got to do with me? Until they go to the gas station and they got to pay $7 a gallon. And they're like, yo, this is not cool. Right? So Oftentimes, right, as you can see here, they've done it before. They'll do it again. But for us, what does that mean? It means you have to be, for, scripture oriented, right? You got your mind got to be in the scriptures first. The only thing you can really trust first is what the scriptures say would happen. Okay, and then use that to line up the things that are happening in the world, because there's going to be a lot of far left, far right, information, right? One day there's breaking news, this just happened, and then 2 minutes later, breaking news, that previous breaking news was false, you know, and then it's just like, oh, Iran said this, then Iran comes out and say, no, we didn't say that, but here it is, you turn on Fox News and it's saying the Iranians just yada yada said X, Y, and Z, or they just admitted to doing blah 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 blah. And at the same time, you may have another news station on there that is broadcasting and getting information from what Iran is saying, and they're saying, no, we didn't say that, or we didn't do that. That's an example of real-time propaganda, right? But also not just propaganda. That's just one example. But there are a lot of situations, cases, and things that we read about concerning, historical events that have happened, and during like major times of conflict, times of war, times of plagues. And at most, we've read about them, right? Or we've watched scenes from that in how they're depicted in movies or TV shows or cartoons or all of that, right? Or heard it from people. But now we're at the point where we're now about to actually start experiencing these things, okay? And that experience is going to be different. Yes, it's going to, event-wise, it may be similar to what you've heard or seen, but the feeling is going to be different because it's going to be a first time actually living through a time like this for most people, right? And that's going to be like, wow, it's a different feeling. It's a different experience to actually witness this in real time and not just from the pages of a book or the visuals or the pixels on a screen. So that's a part of why you have to have your mind prepared for these times, because, reading is one thing, but experiencing is a whole nother. Now, this is the book of Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15. It says, see then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. And this means exactly what it says, right? Be alert, be circumspect. Now is not the time to be getting distracted or to be off of your watch. All right. And also, as it says, redeeming the times because the days are evil. You want to train your spirit and your mind to, trust in the Lord first and foremost, keep your faith up, but also be calm, not hasty in everything. Because in the times we're coming into, hasty decisions can often lead to the wrong decisions. And it may not be fatal, but it could be very detrimental and make it a very, very difficult journey for your ass. You go and do something hasty and now you injured. And now for a good couple of however long it is, your mobility is down because, you're injured, whether it's your foot, your hand, or whatever the case is. It could get infected and it's going to be a bad, bad experience. Right. So you want to always trust in the Lord, have faith and calm down, without making rash decisions. Lest here it is, the Lord might have it to where you end up escaping, right? This is just a hypothetical scenario. You end up escaping and fleeing into maybe the forest somewhere, but you making haste. You're so afraid. Oh shit, it's the woods. Oh my gosh. It must be better in the city. And you run down the city, get caught by troops, and now you're in a FEMA camp. You may still be alive, but had you just been calm and trusted the Lord, He might have led you to like a cabin or some remote area somewhere where maybe some rich guy was stockpiling food, had a bunker there and everything, in case of times like this, and they just got taken out. And the Lord might have led you to that, but you turn around and you said, "Now I'm gonna run back down to the city," and now you're still alive, but your experience is different. You in a tight, confined space, eating freaking unwarmed up, cold oatmeal and shit with cashews. But hey, the whole point is, right, as it says, redeem the times because the days are evil. And we know what times we're in, and we know what we got to do, right? First and foremost, trust in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And as we're about to see, a lot of things are easier said than done. So, definitely be prepared in the spirit for the things that are going to be transpiring. But with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Recha Kudash. And until next time, Shalom.